A concrete floor, 30 bikers standing in a circle. One man on his knees in the middle. Someone presses a handgun to the side of his head. Another rips open his shirt, running fingers along his ribs, his waistband, checking every seam for a hidden transmitter. If they find one, this man ceases to exist. No body, no investigation, no funeral. They find nothing. The vote is unanimous. A leather vest is pulled over his shoulders, and a patch is sewn onto his back. The winged death's head of the Hells Angels. He is now a full-color member of the most feared outlaw motorcycle organization on the planet. Not a single person in that room knows the truth. The man they just patched in carries a federal badge. His name is Jay Dobbins, Special Agent, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives. For nearly 2 years, he lived among killers without a safety net. No wire, no backup extraction, no panic button. He memorized every drug transaction, every weapon stash, every whispered confession. His work led to 55 criminal indictments. It was the most successful infiltration of an outlaw biker gang in United States history. The government pinned medals on his chest and called him a hero. Then it turned on him. His family's cover identities were erased. His home was set ablaze with his wife and children inside. When he pleaded for the protection he'd been promised, the Bureau accused him of lighting the match. A federal judge would later rule that the entire investigation was retaliation. The judge's exact word was payback. How does the most decorated undercover operative in ATF history become his own agency's #1 target? And what was the Bureau so desperate to hide that it was willing to destroy the one man who knew the truth?
Jay Dobbins erases his identity and becomes Jay Davis, a freelance gun dealer and enforcer with a reputation for violence. He checks into a rundown motel south of the border, tapes crime scene photos to the walls, and leans a baseball bat in the corner. He hides body armor in the closet. Then he starts building his legend. Under cover of night, he slashes tires belonging to suspected snitches. He stages public confrontations in parking lots, flipping tables at strategic moments, making sure the right eyes witness his temper. Word filters through the biker circuit. Jay Davis is dangerous, and dangerous men are useful. The Hells Angels dispatch private investigators to vet him. 3 separate background checks over 6 months. Each time, the ATF's cover team holds. Each time, Dobbins exhales a fraction slower, but each successful check also raises the stakes. The Angels don't investigate a man 3 times unless they're about to either embrace him or bury him. One senior angel refuses to be convinced. Chico Mora, 300 pounds of quiet menace, watches Davis with flat patience. Dobbins avoids him, never pressing, never slipping. Paranoia becomes his constant companion. At the Skull Valley Clubhouse, a member presses a gun barrel against Dobbins' temple and orders him to strip. Dobbins unbuttons his shirt 1 button at a time, the cold steel dragging across his skin until they find nothing. His heart rate doesn't normalize for 2 hours. Then comes the ultimate test. The Angels demand proof that Jay Davis has committed murder. The ATF responds with theater. In the desert outside Phoenix, federal agents stage an execution. A kneeling figure, a jacket soaked in blood. Cow brains scattered across the sand, brass casings placed for the camera. Dobbins lights a cigarette and fires a round into the dirt. Agents photograph the scene from 3 angles. That night, he walks into the Hells Angels clubhouse carrying the photos. Cheers. Raised glasses. By midnight, the vote is final. A Hells Angels patch is stitched onto Jay Dobbins' back. He is the only federal law enforcement officer in American history to hold that rank. The thrill lasts 4 seconds before the dread sets in. There is no extraction protocol for this depth. He is further inside than anyone at the ATF anticipated. Every additional day increases the probability that the next background check will crack the cover wide open. For 21 months, he rides with the Angels, attending closed-door meetings, witnessing drug deals, and cataloging weapon stockpiles. He almost never wears a wire. Nearly everything depends on his memory and his nerve. Every Friday night ride could be his last. If one angel runs his license plate or decides Jay Davis asks one too many questions, the operation is over and so is his life. The strain accumulates. He drops weight. His hands tremble when he's alone. The adrenaline now feels like slow drip poison. Meanwhile, at home, during one of his rare visits, his 8-year-old son places a smooth stone in his palm. He says, "When you feel scared, hold this." Dobbins will later call it the lowest moment of his life. He is winning the war against the angels and losing every other war that matters. What did 2 years of sacrifice deliver? 55 arrests, senior Hells Angels, Aryan Brotherhood soldiers. Enough evidence to fill a federal warehouse. Medals, commendations. On paper, Operation Black Biscuit is the greatest outlaw motorcycle gang case in ATF history. Off paper, the entire thing is about to implode, and it will drag Jay Dobbins down with it.
The landmark case disintegrates almost immediately after their arrests. Defense lawyers shred the evidence chain. Charges against key Hells Angels are reduced or thrown out entirely. A federal judge rebukes prosecutors for mishandling witness testimony. The Angels' attorneys hold press conferences painting the ATF as reckless cowboys who manufactured evidence and trapped innocent men. News coverage that once celebrated the takedown now questions whether it was legitimate at all. For the ATF, Black Biscuit transforms overnight from a crown jewel into an institutional embarrassment, and embarrassments require a scapegoat. The same supervisors who authorized every phase begin distancing themselves, rewriting memos to imply that Dobbins had gone off script. Meanwhile, with Jay Dobbins' true identity now exposed in open court testimony, every criminal organization he ever infiltrated knows exactly who betrayed them. The FBI intercepts Aryan Brotherhood members discussing how to break Dobbins' neck. Gang associates plot to set him on fire in his bedroom. MS-13 operatives joke about the bounty. These are not vague threats. They include license plate numbers, home addresses, and children's schools. Intelligence analysts flag surveillance teams tracking his daily movements, cataloging his routines the same way Dobbins once cataloged theirs. In Phoenix, federal analysts log a $50,000 contract on his life, co-signed by representatives of 3 separate criminal organizations. His phone rings with familiar voices. "We know where you sleep." Dobbins does what any loyal agent would do. He contacts the ATF and the Department of Justice and begs for protection. He files formal requests, calls supervisors, and writes memoranda. He reminds them of the promises made before he went under, that the Bureau would shield his family no matter the outcome. What comes back is silence, then something worse than silence. Emails go unanswered. Phone calls route to dead voicemail boxes. Meetings are canceled without explanation. In the spring of 2008, the Bureau strips the Dobbins family of every layer of security. The fabricated identities built for Gwen and the children are deleted, school records, utility accounts, all reverted to their real names overnight. The agency that sent Jay Dobbins into a lion's den had now unlocked the cage and pushed his family inside. With no other option, Dobbins goes public. He sues the United States government, alleging the ATF knowingly endangered his family. News cameras find him on courthouse steps. Reporters call him a whistleblower inside ATF headquarters. The word they use is liability. Former colleagues stop returning his calls. Security details assigned to his neighborhood quietly rotate elsewhere. The message is unmistakable. Jay Dobbins is no longer one of us. By the summer of 2008, he occupies a position no training manual covers. A man with 3 active death contracts, no government protection, and a pending federal lawsuit against his own employer. His family is exposed under their real names in the same city where bikers know his street address. He sleeps in shifts. He checks the locks every hour. He varies his route to the store. He keeps a loaded firearm within arm's reach at all times, not because of criminals, but because the institution sworn to protect him has made clear it won't. And every single night, he lies awake waiting for the sound that will confirm his worst fear. On August 10, 2008, just after 9 o'clock in the morning, that sound arrives.
Wind tears through Tucson's empty streets that August morning. Inside the Dobbins home, wooden beams split and buckle. smoke blackens the ceiling before the first flame breaks through a wall. Gwen jerks awake, choking, pulls the children from their beds, and sprints down a hallway already buckling with heat. She clears the front door as a section of wall collapses behind her. The family survives by a margin measured in seconds. By the time fire trucks arrive, the structure is beyond saving. Flames punch through the roof. The house Jay Dobbins tried to defend for 2 decades folds into its own foundation. By dawn, ATF investigators are combing the wreckage. They log a severed fuel can nozzle. They photograph unusual burn patterns on the floor. They catalog a scorched notebook. At the field office, under harsh fluorescent lights, an arson investigator slides a folder across a metal table, leans in close, and says, "Agent Dobbins, we believe you set this fire yourself." Dobbins feels the air leave the room. He has been shot, run over, beaten unconscious, stripped at gunpoint by Hell's Angels, and marked for assassination by 3 criminal syndicates, and none of it prepared him for that sentence, delivered by a man wearing the same badge he carries. He answers the only way he can. "I nearly died for this bureau. Why would I burn down my own home?" But the investigators press forward. An unexplained withdrawal here, a contested insurance detail there, anything that supports the narrative they need to build. Years later, a federal judge will write the line that explains the entire saga. In a 54-page ruling, Judge Francis Allegra of the U.S. Court of Federal Claims states that ATF investigators knew Dobbins was not responsible for the fire and still allowed him to be treated as a suspect as a form of payback. Payback, the judge's word, not Dobbins. Payback for the lawsuit that embarrassed the Bureau. Payback for talking to journalists. Payback for refusing to disappear quietly. But the arson investigation is a sideshow compared to what the ATF is actually protecting. In 2011, the scandal that Dobbins' lawsuit threatened to expose detonates on its own. 2 federal officers, Border Patrol Agent Brian Terry and ICE Agent Jaime Zapata, are killed with weapons traced to Operation Fast and Furious, the ATF's catastrophic gun-walking program that allowed over 2,000 firearms to flow directly into the hands of Mexican cartels. The program was designed to track weapons to cartel leadership. Instead, it armed them. And when agents died because of those weapons, the Bureau's reflex was not accountability, it was containment. Congressional hearings follow, Inspector General reports follow, and buried deep in the organizational charts, the supervisors who managed the Fast and Furious cover-up overlapped with the officials who ordered the dismantling of Jay Dobbins' protection and directed the arson investigation against him. The connection locks into place. Jay Dobbins wasn't punished for setting a fire. He was punished for being a man who sued, who spoke to reporters, who refused to stay silent at the precise moment when silence was the only thing standing between the Bureau and its most catastrophic secret. His destruction wasn't personal, it was institutional self-preservation wearing the disguise of an arson case. And the people executing it had already demonstrated they were willing to let 2,000 firearms reach cartel kill squads rather than admit a mistake. What was one more ruined agent against that math?
A courtroom in the U.S. Court of Federal Claims, Washington, D.C. At one table, Jay Dobbins in a gray suit, his attorney, and a single paralegal. At the other, 6 Department of Justice lawyers and 2 paralegals. The imbalance tells you everything about the stakes. Dobbins takes the stand and methodically dismantles the Bureau's version of events. He presents transcripts of internal ATF communications in which colleagues discuss harming him. He submits 641 pages of documentation proving every promise of protection was made and broken. He enters into evidence photographs of his destroyed home, medical records spanning surgeries dating back to 1987, and a small, smooth stone his son once pressed into his hand.
The government's attorneys counter with everything they can surface. Old social media posts, questions about his mental fitness. None of it lands. Dobbins remains composed throughout. After weeks of testimony, Judge Francis Allegra issues his ruling. 54 pages. He opens with a literary quotation about a man whose good name has been stolen. He calls the ATF's conduct malfeasance and declares that the government systematically violated its duty of care to Jay Dobbins and his family. He finds that ATF investigators knew Dobbins was not responsible for the fire and targeted him anyway as retribution. He awards $173,000 in damages. For a brief moment, it feels like vindication. Then, the Department of Justice appeals. And during the appeals process, a bombshell detonates. Judge Allegra discovers that DOJ attorneys committed misconduct during the original trial. They instructed ATF officials not to investigate the actual cause of the fire, because doing so would damage the government's legal position. Let that sink in. The government told its own investigators not to find the truth. Allegra issues a second ruling, declaring fraud upon the court, voids the original verdict entirely, and removes the offending attorneys from the case. But institutional machinery grinds slowly and protects its own. In 2019, the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals rules against Dobbins. No damages, no official victory. The Supreme Court declines to hear the case. Legally, the man who infiltrated the Hells Angels loses.
Except he doesn't lose everything, and what he keeps might matter more than any check the government could have written.
Judge Allegra's 54-page opinion is a public document. The Inspector General's reports are public documents. The congressional testimony is on the public record. The finding of fraud upon the court is now settled case law. None of it can be redacted, reclassified, or made to disappear. The ATF can strip Jay Dobbins of his badge, his protection, and his pension. It cannot strip the judicial record that names, in permanent legal language, what was done to him. Dobbins walks out of the courthouse into a Washington evening. He doesn't have a check, he doesn't have a badge, he doesn't have a pension or a career. He has a smooth stone in his pocket and a ruling that says, in the indelible language of federal law, that his government betrayed him. Jay Dobbins accomplished something no other federal agent has done before or since. He earned full member status in the Hells Angels, survived assassination contracts from 3 separate criminal organizations, and gathered enough evidence to put 55 people in handcuffs. The only thing he couldn't survive was the institution he served. The ATF decided that his silence was worth more than his sacrifice. More than the 21 months sleeping in biker clubhouses, more than the bullet scar on his chest, more than the children who grew up terrified of their own father. He refused to be silent. That refusal cost him everything the government could take. It also preserved the one thing the government could not, the record of what happened. While the ATF was burying one of its own agents, someone else was building an empire that would make every street dealer on Earth obsolete. Alphabay, a dark web empire so massive it processed more drug transactions per day than the entire Silk Road at its peak. And the man who built it lived like a king in Thailand while the FBI hunted him across 5 continents, until the day they caught him. And the morning after that, he was dead. That story is on screen right now.